Hello everybody, Megan's Out Excerpt back at it again to give y'all another very exciting video for today. Here we go, talking about the 5th episode of WandaVision. And I have got to say, I thought episode 4 was going off the rails, and we're starting to get into a little bit of excitement where that classic blend of the classic TV show along with the blend of our traditional MCU formula was about to go off. And I'm like, oh freaking shoot, like this 5th episode, I just like the way how they just balanced out the, like we were still going through, and this episode was set in the 80s, by the way, for those wondering. Though it was set in the 80s. I like how it wasn't just fully like the first few episodes that we had where it's like those black and white TV series where it's like it was just purely on the, the comedic side of things. I liked how they balanced it out, and it was a little bit of the classic television show and a little bit of our traditional MCU formula, sitting in the big screen where you got the black on the top and the bottom of the screen though. But I was like, oh freaking shoot. I was like, I just love that balance of them just going back and forth though. And oh gosh, there's just quite a bit of stuff to go ahead and talk about in this episode. And oh shoot, I thought last episode was crazy though, but oh my goodness, just keep an eye out on the red that's throughout this episode. Keep an eye out on the red throughout this episode. And that's something I'm going to hit later on towards the very tail end. And it's something that you might be able to see in some of these images I'm about to show off, throughout the scenes of the episode, and it may not be. But you definitely will see it towards the second half, though. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive straight up into this episode review for WandaVision Episode 5. All right, so we start off the episode right there with Wanda, and then you have Vision. Both of them holding their children, though. Basically, from where we left off in the previous episode, they gave birth to their children, or actually technically 2 episodes ago, because the last episode completely revolved around stuff that was happening on the, within the outside world. So then we're finally kind of getting to go back and see exactly, how Wanda and Vision are currently doing. And now we're finally in the 80s, though. So we got to see them holding their children and everything, though, just kind of going through here, wondering like that, though. However, we get to see none other than Agnes pop back up in here once again. Now let me point this out here real quick, because they were having trouble trying to put their children to sleep. And I will say this about it is, they were trying to put their children to sleep. However, it was like, man, I just wish we could, find a way to let them go to sleep. Even Wanda was trying to use her powers to put them to sleep, and even the children was honestly just laughing back at him. And I was like, now that was just a little funny moment to see how her powers didn't actually affect a person like that. Now, I say person like that though, but we'll get along a little bit further on the episode, and I'll see what I'm talking about. Y'all see what I was talking about though. But it always seems like Agnes is always in the right place at the right time to always help these two out. Well, regardless of the fact, we get to see them like there, and then Vision is starting to get a little bit of awareness as to what kind of freaky little crazy little things are sort of kind of going on right now as they, we keep advancing from episode to episode. So Agnes was like, oh, I'm here to go ahead and try to, help the children to go to sleep. And he was like, wait, who told you that we having trouble putting our kids to sleep? And she's like, I just knew, like my ears, like I just heard it or whatever though. Kind of weird and situational that she always manages to pop back up when they need them though. But then there was one critical moment where Vision was like, have your hands been clean? You know what, we can take care of this stuff. Never mind. No, you don't have to hold our children. And then Agnes just gives a weird look to Wanda like, is everything all right? Like, can I not hold him or something like that? And, Vision starts looking at her like, man, something don't seem right about her. He turns around and looks at Wanda, and it was like, Wanda was like, excuse me? Like, but then she sort of kind of brushes it off, and then those two kind of come over there to the side. Like, Vision's like, hey, have you not did you see what I see? And she's like, what are you talking about? And it's like, did you really not see exactly what I saw? Like this is all super weird to me. And I'm like, and it was at this moment where it was like Vision was like, what the heck is actually going on? And wanted to try to cover it up, say, oh, you know what, we're kind of sleep deprived, children kind of been keeping us up all night, don't think much of it though. But then literally in the very next scene we get over here, Agnes is like, oh, I got a bottle of liquor over here. And then she was like, oh no, it's not for me, it's for the kids. I'm like, liquor and kids don't go together. So I'm trying to get, how does ABC plug into XYZ? Like it doesn't make any sense though. It just kind of shows how odd that this little situation was right here though. So honestly, it was super strange though. And then all of a sudden, the babies disappear because they heard them stop crying, and boom, they're right there as kids. And I'm like, what the actual heck? Even Agnes was over here, and this did not faze her at all. Right there, that's a red flag, because if any normal human being were to see some babies pop up and actually grow up into kids like this, like what the heck? Like I don't even get it though. And that's just a big red flag right here. Like, absolutely does not make any sense right there though. And then we get to see a little further along, you know, you just get to see him holding them like that, and then it goes into this sort of kind of like an 80s montage-ish. It sort of kind of gives you like Full House vibes and stuff like that. Like I always like how they always have something like a traditional opening or whatever though, but they always change it for the generations though. So nothing too crazy, nothing too flashy like that though, but honestly just some really cool stuff right there though. Then we get to see the captain. She wakes back up, and you get to also go ahead and see Darcy along with Wu, and they're trying to catch her up to speed, like, hey, we got a meeting here with an X amount of time, let's go ahead and catch it and fill you back up in here right there though. Now this is where things get a little bit interesting. I'm gonna have to go ahead and start breaking this down right here though, because you get to see over here they're huddled up in their meeting and stuff, and they're going back through and, you know, and explaining, you know, Wanda's past history, and along with Visions as well though. And we get a lot of different references to Avengers Age of Ultron, because, you know, that's where Wanda first made her debut, and thus a lot of things with the Sokovia Accords came directly from the events that happened within the events of Age of Ultron. I felt like a lot of different events were also referencing the Age of Ultron throughout this episode though, and they were kind of going ahead and talking through her. Well, I'll go ahead and rewind it back here a little bit though. But they were talking to the captain over here, and they were saying, you know what, how was that experience being within that zone that Wanda popped up? And honestly, she was like, well, it kind of felt like something was holding me back. I was sort of kind of sad, but at the same time, going through a little bit of pain, a little bit of agony. Like it's like a lot of different mixed emotions, like not just pure anger, not just pure upset, not just pure frightened. It was like a mix of all of this certain kind of stuff that was just weighing down on her while she was within that strange phenomenon. And she doesn't think that Wanda did this purely on purpose, out of spite or aggression, but it might be sort of kind of subconscious. And I got to go back and tap up into that a little bit later on within my review of this though. But things aren't what they seem to be, but at the same time they sort of kind of are. It's kind of a little bit weird. I was doing a little bit of both, but I'll explain about that as we go a little bit further on within this episode though. Now here's another big thing right here. We actually get to figure out, because a lot of people was like, how the heck is Vision alive? And we get to see this during the events of WandaVision for these episodes so far. Apparently, Wanda went up in that base, into Sword's base, took the body of Vision, which I guess this is where they basically kept this body at after, you know, Thanos killed him during Infinity War. She came up in there, stormed up in there, took Vision body and left. Like, what the actual freak, Wanda? Like, I know you got some little bit of issues dealing with stress and all of this stuff and anxiety and all this stuff, though. But the matter of fact that you defied Vision's, you know, will. The matter of fact that she just came up in there, took his body because he really didn't want his body to use for any kind of experimentations or anything about, you know, using his body for the advance of technology, weapons and stuff like that. Like, that was just in his will, and she broke the Sokovia Accords coming up in there and storming up in there like that. So now there's even more motives for Sword to actually kind of go up in there and try to stop whatever Wanda is doing to to all these people that are actually living within Westview right now. And it's just kind of crazy. The matter of fact, she went up there and stormed in that base. I was like, what the actual heck? Now we get to see, and then from there we pan back over and we go back into, I guess what we could call WandaVision, like, or within the the weird phenomenon that Wanda's controlling now. And we get to see the boys over here. They're standing over here in front of this water and stuff, and they're trying to keep, trying to cover up where this dog that they basically found off the street somewhere, I don't know, somehow, some way, and they found that dog right there, and it was like, what the heck? And it was a little nice to sort of kind of see like a little bit of family bond, like, like within the traditional TV shows back in the day. It always felt like, in shows like Full House and whatnot, though, you always had some kind of animal pet. Mostly it was primarily like a dog or something like that. So they try to get that little bit of feel right there. And honestly, they were going back and forth about whether or not they should let their kids have it, though. But in the midst of all of this, it was like, like, how are you going to take care of a dog if you don't have like a dog house or a dog collar and all of this stuff? And Vision had a hunch that somebody was going to show up just with the needs that they needed. And Agnes popped up once again like this. And it is sort of kind of like Vision's like, alrighty, this is the second time within this quote unquote episode that this happened. Like, something just does not add up. And he's like, is there something that you're not telling me? But Wanda always manages to push it off time and time and time again. And I was like, what the heck? Like it's kind of crazy though. But I'm like, this is super strange and super odd like that though. And honestly, she turned around and looked at them and looked at Vision like, well, kids, you can't have a dog until you're actually the age of 10. And these kids do it again. They pop up from like where they would have been like 5-ish or 6-ish or 7-ish and popped up to where like they're the age of 10. Did this in front of Agnes again, and this did not faze her once at all. And also, not to mention, Wanda actually pooped up a dog collar right in front of Agnes as well. It seems like Agnes, along with Wanda, Wanda's getting a little too comfortable around Agnes. Meanwhile, Vision was always like that person, like, hey, we got to always keep our powers under wrap. We're not supposed to share this out with the world and whatnot, though. But I don't know, Wanda's getting a little too comfortable around Agnes, which really makes me question and think, who is Agnes really, though? Now we get to bounce back over and we get to see the captain over here with, Captain Randolph, over here with Darcy along with Wu, and they were trying to explain about what's kind of going on in the phenomenon though. And Darcy actually came up with the term Hex, which is this is what I'm going to call it this point moving forward within the series though. It's basically the whole area that Wanda is captured. We're just calling it the Hex. So within the Hex itself, we know that she's either subconsciously, or whether she doesn't really know or she fully knows, she's controlling this whole entire area of Westview, which is honestly really freaky to sort of kind of think about though. And they even throw a little bit of a tease over here, recalling certain events within in-game, saying how, Wanda is like really powerful and stuff. And honestly, if she could have almost defeated Thanos by herself had it not been for, that one little thing that popped down and, Thanos was able to get just enough of a distraction from her to be able to beat Wanda and leave it at that though. But then Wu over here turned around and said, well, you know what, our other girl over here, Captain Marvel, could have done the same thing too, but she over here, she honestly pushed that to the side real quick. I wonder, does she have a little bit of remorse, not remorse, but a little bit of a grudge against Captain Marvel? Because think about it, she was a kid at that time, and she really looked up to Captain Marvel though. But her mom catching cancer and stuff, and then turning around and not being there where she kind of might have needed her the most, with her losing her mother like that. Like, I don't know, there might be a little bit of a grudge, but that might set things up for Captain Marvel too though. So we're gonna have to wait and see on that though. But also within this, we get to figure out a sort of weird kind of effect that's happening within the Hex. Because honestly, when she first went up in there, she had a bulletproof vest. Within that bulletproof vest, she managed, she went in there with that bulletproof vest, but by the time she was moving around within the Hex, within the city of Westview, she had that sort of 70s gear on right there. And then she took, Wu's gun and started shooting it, and figured out that her pants were, or the shirt was bulletproof. So we're figuring out that Wanda is actually manipulating matter, and she must have a tremendous amount of energy to do it, because basically anything that goes within the hex or anything that's already in the hex, she's sort of kind of moving it around and reforming it and shaping it to her own mind. Hence why we're getting themes between the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and now what we're in within the 80s. So it's something that's very interesting to tell. And honestly, she must have a ton of power to be able to do all of that and change it from each episode, though. Now, this is where things also get super spicy as well, because we get to see Vision is at work. Now, while he's at work, he gets a little message on the computer from Sword saying that a message from Darcy, explaining like the weird phenomenon that's sort of kind of happening within the hex, and everybody around him starts reading this letter out. And then Vision actually starts using some of his powers, like cuts off the computer, and then turns around and actually looks at his friend over here. And I gotta pause it right here, because he uses his powers to sort of kind of mess with his mind. And this man snaps out of it. He's like, what the heck's going on? Where's my family? Where's my kids? What day is it? Where's my phone? I need to contact them. I was like, this is all Wanda. Like, and then he was going through so much emotional stress, so much turmoil. It's very interesting to see this man sort of kind of almost break down, like what the heck is going on here? Like, I'm freaking scared, man. I need to go back to see my family. Like, please help me, please stop her. And then Vision snaps him back into his normal, or quote unquote normal self that Wanda's sort of kind of envisioning. And then he goes back to, the normal, cheery, old, kind of bushy, old kind of self that he is, though. Now, that's when he knew things were not right. And I'm about to get to the bottom of this. Now, that part right there was honestly super freaky, though, and really interesting to see him go through that meltdown, though. Now, we get to go back and bounce back over, back within the house, where the boys are at, along with Wanda. And honestly, they were like, oh, they trained the dogs to do some cool little tricks and whatnot, though. It's like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to go ahead and tell Dad about this? And they figured out that, you know what? Their dad is at work, but they said that, wasn't it Saturday? And she's like, oh no, it's Monday. And it's like, but it was Saturday this morning. And guess what? Wanda basically changed the day from Saturday to Monday just to distract Vision, because Vision was sort of kind of catching on to some of the stuff that was happening, within the town. Like, he's starting to become a little bit self-aware of stuff. Like, he's not being easily controlled like what Wanda kind of wants to do with him. And thus, she flipped the days to Monday just so he can go to work, just to kind of distract them and try to make him forget some of the stuff. That is a super critical moment, like, where that she's manipulating stuff even stronger than what she was doing within the past few episodes. Now, this is where things got real interesting, because the dog ran up to the door. He didn't really like anything. And this was the moment where when Sword actually sent in some technology that did not needed to get changed, because you send something in too modern, it got reverted back to whatever time or decade that they're sort of kind of living in. So they sent in some tech from the 80s to be able to actually send in a cam to be able to see if they can get direct contact with Wanda right here. And this is where things got super spicy. I mean, we didn't get to see it on the actual WandaVision television. She sort of kind of censored that part out, but they were looking at her. She had them, like, her eyes was glowing red, like she's about to say, ooh, shoot, you crossed the line and you shouldn't have done it, because now I'm about to come over here and jump right on you, though. So they get some alerts like, oh, something's happening with the barrier around the hex, though. And Wanda comes out and throws that little drone out there. And honestly, that thing was one of the people within Sword honestly wanted them to take the shot on Wanda, because she is sort of kind of holding the whole town, holding the whole town and all the people that are living within it, and secluding them off from the world and stuff like that, though. And Wanda was like, what the heck are y'all doing here? Leave me alone. If you leave me alone, I'll leave y'all alone. And honestly, it was just crazy seeing that kind of a threat from Wanda. Like, this is almost like Age of Ultron sort of kind of Wanda, like, not sort of kind of the almost laid back, not super laid back though, but a little bit more of a normalized Wanda that we got to see within like the beginning moments of Infinity War, before they kind of got drafted into that war, or some of the other parts later on within Civil War, though. But this seems like the old Wanda that we got to see right here, though. And it was weird because the captain was going back and reassuring her, like, hey, you know what, you can trust me. You trusted me enough to allow me to deliver your kids. Like, I'm trying to here to help you. And she's like, hey, the life I got right now is perfect, so leave me alone. Points all those guns back on the person, on one of the captains over there, and she walks away and re-enters back into the hex. And I was like, what the freak is going on over here? And honestly, oh shoot, it's bad. Now this is where you're gonna have to pay some critical attention to, because the whole hex, while it was sort of kind of like a blue, sort of kind of like you really couldn't see it, it starts turning this big red color right here. So I just wanted to mention this right now. For every image that comes after this point, look very, and I mean very closely at some of the characters that are actually within this episode. Just look on the outer edges of them, and I'm going to talk about that once we get to the very tail end of this review though. So we got to see her go back up into the zone and stuff like that. And then we get to see one of these short little commercials once again though. However, if you look at the brand, you might just think like, oh, this is a sort of kind of just, honest, innocent little commercial that they got going on right here. Like, Lagos is just a paper towel company, and they're just trying to get their little infomercial up in there like they did with some of the previous ones. However, if you look into the deeper meaning, what was actually Lagos back within with Marvel, Lagos was actually the same town that actually happened within one of the movies within Captain America Civil War, because within that little clip right there, guess what? Lagos is the same little town that within the very beginning moments of Civil War, that was when Captain America, Wanda, along with Falcon, and I believe even Black Widow, they ran this sort of kind of operation mission. And it was one of those moments where Wanda had to control a blast. She sent it into a building and then it blew up. And it was because of the little moments like that, that's when they really had to start implementing the Sokovia Accords a lot, and saying that was like the pure foundation of why they said, hey, you either work with the government or you don't work with us at all, and you can't use the superpowers at all, period, end of discussion. It was really sparked by that in that moment where Wanda basically was trying to save some people, but wound up killing a lot of different people with that blast and trying to contain it though. That's the importance of this Easter egg from this little infomercial from Lagos right there though. Just want to point that out for some of y'all that might not made the connection right there though. Now, looking a little bit further along, they were looking for their dog, and honestly, with their dog, I mean, it was over there. Agnes, once again, was the person that found it while they were looking for it. Right place, right time, so situational, but there she is, and saying, oh man, I found a dog. I don't know how to say it though, but basically he's dead though. And then you get to see the boys over here, and they're very sad over here, and they're like, mama, that dog was like family for us. Why don't you bring it back? Bring back the dead to life. And Wanda was over here acting like, you know what? I can't bring the dead back to life, even though she already did it with Vision before. So I'm just saying over here, like, come on now, like Vision, she did the thing with Vision, but yet she won't do it with that. Like, a little bit of hypocritical right there though, just a little bit though. But I'm just pointing that out here for y'all real quick though. But it's just something kind of interesting to kind of take note on. And she was like, well, I just can't do it. It's just not right. And then Vision pops up, and he's sort of kind of sad about the different stuff that happened with the dog though. Now, this is where things get ultra spicy once again, because you have Vision over here. He's back here at home. The boys are probably somewhere upstairs, probably asleep. And you get to see him over here talking with Wanda like, alrighty, honey, spill the beans. Something ain't right. Westview is not right. Like, I don't see kids on the playground outside when I walk to work. Hey, what in the world is outside of Westview? Wanda, I cannot remember the things that that had happened to me previously beyond what would happen within episode 1. Like, I know I'm a father. I know I'm a father to my 2 boys. I know I'm quote unquote your husband, but anything beyond what happened within that first episode, I don't know, Wanda. What in the world is going on with you? You get to see the credits sort of kind of, roll through right there, though. Almost seemed like it was the end of the episode, but no, that wasn't it. It almost got to the point where Vision got so frustrated that he rose up, and even Wanda rose up, like they were about to almost fight it out, duke it out. Husbands and wives, husbands and wives don't always get along though. But when you see a husband and wife with superpowers about to go throw down like this though. Would be really interesting to see like that though. But honestly, there, Vision about had it here, and he's like, I, I want to believe you, and I want to trust you, but the thing is like I just can't because so many things are adding up that I just can't. I'm sorry. Like I'm starting to get scared, Wanda. Like what the heck is going on? What is outside of Westview? But she just reassures him like, hey, you're my husband. You're the father to our two boys. Isn't that enough? And those two are just like, what the heck? And then the doorbell rings, and then Vision was like, did you do that? And she's like, no, but she's like, I don't know. And she also mentions the fact that I don't know how any of this started or what, but you don't believe me. Now, this is where a critical discussion sort of kind of happens, that you can honestly talk about, with the fact that we know Wanda is aware of everything that's happening within the Hex because she had the nerve to pop out of it and go back into it. However, how in the world did the Hex originally start? Because I think, like what Vision said, it's something that might have happened or popped up subconsciously at first, but then again, she does have some kind of awareness at the same time. So I'm like, what the actual heck? Like that's where things is sort of kind of getting a little questionable. But then that doorbell rings. She goes over there to answer it though, and find somebody at the door. At first, people were like, what the heck? Who is this person? But it turns out to be none other than Pedro, her long lost twin brother. However, it's not the same actor that we saw within Avengers Age of Ultron. It's the actor from the X-Men that played Quicksilver within the X-Men movies. So we get to see him play as a cameo in spot of her actual brother. Hence, this is the moment where we got to see Darcy over here like, wait a minute, she recasted Pedro? Like that's where things get a little bit of interesting, and it was nice to see the cameo tie over with X-Men and stuff, because we know, Wanda's basically a character from, the X-Men series though. So it's nice to kind of see this little bit of a cameo right there. Now, are they going to try to make everything canon and stuff with WandaVision to X-Men? No, I'm pretty sure MCU is going to take a different little route with this though, but it was super interesting nonetheless. And it just really, and this is where Vision's like, okay, but he's like, alrighty, there's no way, your brother is dead. There's no way he should be here as well. And that's essentially where the episode ends. And I have got to say, what the actual heck, man? Like this is absolutely crazy. And I'm just going here and sitting back and thinking about it. I'm like, hold on here, because during that episode, did y'all notice it? Did y'all notice it at all? I mentioned it like roughly about halfway through the review, saying during the second half, from that point where the Hex started glowing red, you got to see characters, and I was like, keep a close eye on them, because I don't know if y'all were able to notice this though, but through multiple points of this episode, if you were looking really closely at some of the other characters, especially when it wasn't Wanda or when it wasn't Vision, you got to see a red glow that was sort of kind of right along the outer edges of these characters though. I was trying to find one of the images where it might have been the closest to it. Like right there, look at Agnes right there. Like, see that little bit of a faint red glow that's right around her outer edges right there? You got to see that with her. You got to see that with some of the other different plants, buildings. Like that faint red glow was almost everywhere during that second point of the second half of that episode, meaning that it's taking Wanda quite a bit of extensive energy for her to be able to control all of that matter that's around her, whether it be the people or whether it be the actual objects themselves. And this is probably one of the reasons why I feel like Vision is able to be revived right now, is because Wanda she can sort of kind of manipulate people's memories and stuff, but she can't necessarily fully 100% control nobody. At least that's like physical matter. Hence why she was able to bring Vision back, because he's not actually a person, and he was, basically part machine. Remember, it was, Ultron essentially was trying to be able to create him using a bit of Tony Stark's tech, along with Bruce Banner's, wisdom or knowledge, basically, on certain bio stuff, and then also incorporating Jarvis up in them. That's how Vision came to be. So it's basically like a super advanced robot essentially though. But the Mind Stone activating everything, he's a very complex being. Let's just leave it at that. But that explains why she might have been able to bring him back as compared to she shouldn't really be able to bring back any normal, regular old person back to life. But the matter of fact that Pedro just came up out of nowhere at the very end, I mean, that leaves a little bit of questions right there. I will have to say that though, but honestly, that's where things get a little pretty dicey right there though. But that's basically, I feel like, all I have to say on this episode though. And man, oh man, it's crazy though. And the matter of fact that Wanda actually brought back in her brother and recasting him, who knows? We might get somehow of a crazy recast of Wanda bringing back her father as like Magneto, because we know that Wanda is the child of Magneto as well within X-Men though. So could we, start to get a little bit more connections? Like this might be the bridge between, incorporating more X-Men related stuff within our current established MCU timeline right there though. That's just something to kind of keep in mind though. And oh goodness, the possibilities that this series could actually bring though. So honestly, some really good, really deep stuff. And gosh, by golly, I don't know what the heck's gonna go down in episode 6 though. But with this show trending every single week on Twitter like this, man, oh goodness, it's gonna be a spectacle nonetheless. When next Friday comes around, we get to see the next episode of WandaVision though. But that's gonna basically about do it in terms of this review over WandaVision though. But y'all gotta let me know down in the comment section down below, what all do you think about this episode of WandaVision, and was there any other kind of things that I was sort of kind of missing about this though? Just let me know down in the comment section down below, what were your thoughts over this episode as a whole though. And man, WandaVision is WandaVision, man, this is becoming my weekly jam right here. I'm just really love going through and being able to go ahead and just record these live with y'all, just going ahead and viewing it though. So man, goodness, I can't wait for next week's video. I can't say that enough though. But that's gonna about do this for this review though. So if you really liked this review, go ahead and hit that like button, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell to stay up to date on all things WandaVision that I feel like discussion for each week when I sit down here and discuss it with y'all every Saturday night, y'all. So remember y'all, until whatever video I make next, see y'all.